Hello to you all and welcome to IMPROVATE's International Innovation Conference. IMPROVATE is a platform for creating long-lasting connections, enabling change makers in technology and decision makers in government to make progress through innovation. IMPROVATE is all about finding solutions and sparking collaborations that will improve the quality of life for people around the world. Today, we will be discussing how the world is showing the first signs of being on the way to emerging from the global crisis and how innovation and technology will enable us to learn, travel, and improve health systems in the post-COVID world. Joining us today from Belgrade, President Rosen Plevnilev, the President of Bulgaria between 2012 and 2017. And here at the studio, IMPROVATE's founder and chair, Irina Nevzlin. And throughout this special broadcast, we will be hearing from ministers and ambassadors from Greece, Serbia, Montenegro, Poland, and Bulgaria. And of course, a key pillar of IMPROVATE conferences, leading Israeli innovation companies presenting technological solutions that will take the world beyond the current crisis. Kamada, Zebra Medical Vision, Data Tech Labs, Sivan, Tempramed Israel, Innovitech Medical Solutions, Janix, HD Bioimaging, SOPI, and the Jerusalem Development Authority. President Plevnilev, great to see you in another IMPROVATE International Conference.
Great to see you guys. I'm so proud to be with you.
So many women in the studio.
Well, you're right.
Tell us a little bit, how has the global pandemic affected Eastern European countries and what's the current situation there?
Yes, first of all, let me tell you how proud I am that I am with you today. That I'm a proud member of the IMPROVATE family, the IMPROVATE community. Just to express this positive energy coming out of the studio, your smiles, the solutions you're bringing. But sometimes, as you know, presidents go all over the world. We communicate with a lot of people. We visit a lot of countries. To me, IMPROVATE is really unique because of two important things. The one is that it brings all of us together, the whole region. It's just not one or two countries. It's the region of Southeast Europe, of Eastern Europe together. 11 countries. 5 from those countries are EU member states, 8 are NATO member states, 70 million people. All of those countries are friends of Israel. All of those countries are strategic partners of Israel. And all of them want to do more and more and more with Israel. So IMPROVATE is unique of bringing all of us together. Today we will see ministers, deputy prime ministers, former presidents, business leaders, mayors, media, investment funds, bankers, all of them together in looking for solutions. And that's what really strikes me as I participated in so many conferences all over the world. It's extremely focused, IMPROVATE, on bringing solutions. Within a couple of hours, a company, no matter it's coming from Bulgaria, Greece, or from Israel, can understand, can have a deep knowledge, can make contacts, and can do business. So now let me tell you about the region. First of all, of course, the pandemics hit us very, very, very hard. Mm-hmm. The economies will be going down 4 to 8% this year. Tourism was hit very hard. Probably we will see 70% down of the number of tourists visiting the countries. You can imagine there is such a great countries in the region, especially about tourism, having a global locations like Greece, like Croatia, Greece is attracting more than 30 million tourists a year, Croatia almost 30 million, Bulgaria 10, Romania almost 15 million. Everything was drying out. We saw 70% down. And now, of course, again, we're coming to the point that there is a great potential in the region for tourism, for education. There is so much talent. There is a great focus of the governments for innovations. We're looking for potential partnerships. There is a hope for normalization, and that comes with the vaccination, of course, and also with the partnerships we have with world-leading countries like Israel. So thank you for this partnership. Thank you for bringing us again, all of us together. And again, today we will focus on the potential of this great region of Europe to uncover, to unlock, to prosper.
Thank you so much. This is very exciting. We'll come back to you later on. Tourism and economy, there's almost no other industry that has been as hit as hard as the tourism industry. Airlines, hotels, attractions, hundreds of thousands of tourist industry workers have lost their jobs and billions of dollars in revenues have slumped to zero. We're honored to have with us here at the studio Israeli Minister of Tourism, Orit Farkas-Kohen, and Ilanit Malkior, who is in charge of the Tourism and Jerusalem Development Authority. Also joining us are Mr. Hari Teoharis, Minister of Tourism, Greece, Jerusalem Mayor Moshe Leon, and from Bulgaria, Ms. Vesna Baltina, Deputy Mayor of Burgas Municipality, Mrs. Svatelina Borislavova, Chair of the Supervisory Board of Bulgarian American Credit Bank, and Irina, who's still with us. Thank you all for being with us today. Before we begin, let's take a moment to see the beauty of Jerusalem.
Jerusalem is modern, ancient, it's hectic, patient. Jerusalem is a beauty to behold. Its walls are old and domes are gold. Jerusalem is spicy, dynamic, it's iconic, panoramic. Jerusalem is inspiring, unique, it's simple and chic. Jerusalem is brimming with styles, vibrant, charismatic, abundant smiles. Cobblestone streets, colored with sweets. Eclectic orchestra of authentic beats. It's the shuk, the basta, the shawarma. It's all about good karma. It's people, gates and views, culture, art and muse. Jerusalem is tradition, innovation. It's about openness, recreation. It's a city, destination, a goal. Jerusalem is how it feels to be whole. It's the knowledge, the courage, the drive to create. It's the source, the spirit, the reflection of faith. Jerusalem is Israel. It's Mediterranean chill. Jerusalem is real.
Wow. Joining us from Jerusalem is Mayor Moshe Leon.
Dear friends, it is my great pleasure to send you all my warm greetings from Jerusalem. You might think of Jerusalem as an ancient city. This is true. It is. It is a city with a long and rich history. But I have to tell you, Jerusalem has always been a place of new ideas. It is a city that inspires us to look at the world and ask, what can I do? What can I do to make the world a better place? For some, the result was to write holy texts and philosophical works, and for others, the answer was to invent self-driving cars. And that is what you are all doing today, making the world a better place. Jerusalem, even during the dark days of coronavirus, has continued to develop our innovation economy. New startups join large companies, and together they are at the heart of the capital city, of the startup nation. We are building more space for our growing innovation companies. We are building more hotel rooms. And Jerusalem, along with all Israel, is leading the world in vaccinations and coming out of coronavirus. More than ever, we know today that we are all one community. Coronavirus has done so much harm, but at least it must remind us that we are all human beings and we can only see true progress when we work together. So I say to all of you, in Jerusalem we are planning for the future. I want to thank IMPROVATE and all the participants today for being part of this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Moshe Leon. Minister Cohen, hello again to you. With the vaccine rollout moving ahead at pace in Israel and in the world, we be optimistic? Are you optimistic? Can you start to see the end of the pandemic?
First of all, it is great being here. Yes,
also.
It's great being here with this distinguished guest and all the public that can witness and see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, I'm a little bit optimistic. You know, Israel is leading in vaccination around the world, and that gives us a big advantage, and we need to figure out how to expand it and how to make the best use of it with regards to the Israeli people going back to routine. I also loved the film that was made about Jerusalem and about Israel in general. I think we have a beautiful country combining, you know, old and modern business and family, you know, the Hermon-capped, snow-capped, beautiful landscapes in Israel and modern Tel Aviv. So we have a lot to offer to the world. But of course, when we're talking about tourism, which is my ministry, I think that this is the most heavily affected industry in this COVID-19 virus. I had the privilege of, you know, having a little bit of success in reviving the industry, or maybe keeping its infrastructure alive, you know, a lot because of a very good cooperation with the Ministry of Health. We did this, you know, innovative experiment in Israel when we created green islands free of COVID-19 of tourism in Israel, in the north of the country and in the south of the country, a little bit in Eilat and in the Dead Sea areas, where we created tourism areas which were COVID-free, with people showing, you know, having negative results to COVID-19, and Israelis could go along. The vaccine era is creating a new era for us, but is also creating new challenges, technological challenges. The challenge would be how to balance this with what's happening around the world, with the third wave, with the mutations of the virus, how we can, you know, harness the technology, like was said before me, and create, you know, safe ways to go on planes and to bring in tourists without exposing Israel to the
and this
dangers
is the question.
of the mutations.
What do you think are the initial steps need to be taken to get the industry back in business?
So first of all, if we're talking about domestic tourism in Israel, we are already working on it. There is a big deliberation and a dialogue that me as the Minister of Tourism is conducting with the Minister of Health, Mr. Edelstein, who is very open to thinking in an innovative way. I think that after this lockdown that Israel is now experiencing, we are about to come out from this lockdown with millions of Israelis already vaccinated. And this is a true big message. It is a change. And what we are thinking about is pushing forward a program by which, you know, villages tourism, you know, with the suburbs, and also heavy tourists and hotel facilities will be open under a green, you know, we call it certificate. People who can show that they already been vaccinated or can show a PCR negative results to COVID-19, if we're talking about the children that are joining the adults, serological, yes, exams, again, and another certificate for people who healed COVID-19, which are also, you know, have some level of immunity, will be able to go and enjoy tourism.
This will be a kind of passport that you will present, and it will give you free access.
Like a green passport, and the advantage of the tourism industry is that it is monitored. People can come to the desk of a hotel, people can come to the hotels of a Zimmer. In my view, people can come to attraction places, like you said before, in open spaces, and if they show these green passports, they can come in bigger groups and larger groups, if we're talking about the open spaces of attraction. And you know, I also had a talk about restaurants and culture facilities. These places must be managed in the new world according to the green passport, you know, policy. We will have to do it carefully in a balanced way, because we want to see what will be the effect of, on one hand, being vaccinated, and on the other hand, living alongside with the new mutations that not all the implications of these mutations are visible and understandable. But Israel is truly facing a new era, and I say it everywhere. We are going to a new world in which we will have thousands of people that might carry the virus in Israel, but they will be mostly young people, healthy people. So if we were used to pills when we have tens of thousands of people carrying the virus, the country will be under a total lockdown. Now we are starting to think seriously in the government about maybe how to live alongside with the COVID-19, because most of the people, 30, 18
that are
people
in jeopardy are already vaccinated.
Yes, because once we are all vaccinated, it will be interpreted in really less and less people that will be suffer, and to be heavy, either will be the number that we got to use to it. When we're saying people are affected by COVID-19, when we're talking about millions and millions of Israelis being vaccinated already, it will be translated to less and less people in the hospitals, and God forbid that
there will be another economy. There will be two parallel economies. Yes. One for the people who
and
are
also
ideologically,
ideology speaking. If we are the country, we can supply people the vaccine. Once people take the decision not to get vaccinated, I think that we as the government, as long as we reach the people who cannot come and have the hard time to go and get the vaccine, we must think now about how to open the economy and how to live alongside the COVID-19.
Heal the economy. Thank you very much, Minister Cohen. Please stay with us because we will get back to you. And now we're with Mr. Hari Theoharis, Minister of Tourism of Greece. Hello to you. Again. I have a problem hearing.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And Greece is one of the top destinations for Israelis and many other countries. It's my favorite, personally. What can you tell us about the effect the pandemic had on tourism industry in Greece?
Well, you can imagine how difficult it has been. However, Greece managed to fare better than other countries, especially in the first wave and in the second wave. If anything, we only had 2 waves, and the rest of Europe had about 3 waves of the pandemic. This was because we were very swift, very decisive, and we had the cooperation of the general public in taking this seriously and ensuring that we adhere with the rules. We managed to open safely during the summer. We innovated a lot, like Israel does now with the vaccination, in terms of reaching a wide audience. We innovated the kind of testing regime. And as a result, we had great interest and a lot of Israelis coming to Greece during the summer where we were open. We're currently in a period of restrictions and lockdown, and we have started our vaccination program in earnest. And we hope that we will be able to welcome Israelis soon. We're actually in discussions about recognizing, respectively, the different certificates that the 2 countries issue.
I am waiting.
We feel both in terms of investment and in terms of tourism that we can resume our good relationship.
Good. What's your conclusion based on Greece's policy during the pandemic? You've just mentioned opening and closing the industry. Is it going to work in the near future?
Well, the conclusion is that we have to take, if you like, slightly more conservative steps in the sense that we now have the vaccine. So there's an end in sight. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. So what we need to do is be very careful and vigilant and ensure that the vaccine reaches most of the population, especially Greece. Has a lot of, if you like, bigger operational issues in terms of the geography. We have many islands with few residents, so it's a bit more complicated to reach out to all those various places, but we have the operational plan in place. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that we have to aim swiftly to resume traveling arrangements, to allow people the freedom to live their life as much as possible, returning to normality. And that, of course, requires an international cooperation. We need to coordinate in order to have common standards and common ideas. To that effect, we have proposed in the EU to have a common certificate. I don't want to call it passport because I don't want to give the impression that unless you have it, you cannot travel. This is not what we're actually saying. We're saying that everybody should be able to travel. But that doesn't mean that if you're not vaccinated, you shouldn't have a green lane, a faster and seamless procedure. Whereas if you don't have it, of course, you should be tested and possibly quarantined or other different kind of measures. But the idea is that we need to coordinate, to cooperate in order to resume traveling and tourism as soon as possible. This has hit hard a lot of communities. I know that Israel as well has been hit hard with this, with the places in Eilat and other touristic places. We all want to very quickly restart the economies.
Yes. What's your policy now? Is Greece right now open for tourists?
Well, in theory, but we have a lot of restrictions. So restaurants are open. So hotels are open, and they could somebody could come. But this is mainly to cover essential traveling, business travel, other things that you cannot avoid, because there's not much that you can do, unfortunately, during this period. We're slowly starting to open the economy again. We have been very successful in keeping down the numbers. We did not see a spike after the Christmas and New Year vacations, which is a very good sign that our measures have worked very well. So we're now are able to resume the reopening of the economy and hope to welcome tourists in bigger numbers very soon.
I'm going to be one of them next.
Yes.
The next thing I can do.
You have a personal invitation.
Interest, yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Theoharis, and we'll get back to you, Minister Cohen. You've just heard him. You promote a policy, as you just mentioned, the Green Islands, opening hotel and guest houses. This is the near future, domestic tourism. We're not going to be able to open up our doors to tourism from abroad?
You just touched the most challenging, question with regards to the tourism industry in Israel, because now the policy in Israel is to close our skies because of all the mutations and the danger that comes with it. I think that we will work in two stages. My vision as a tourism minister is, first of all, to expand the model of green island of tourism into the whole of the country of Israel, because of the success of the vaccination and our really international success in being the leading country in vaccination. My vision is to open all of the hotels and guest house and the attractions and so on to people at the first stage with, let's say, a green certificate, like the minister before me said. But the challenges would be to work alongside with that on how to create an open sky policy with people that could come from abroad and tour Israel. This question and this challenge is actually technological, and it has to do with a lot of innovation. I spoke with the Minister of Health, and we know that there are all these applications around the world that the flight companies will have to adopt and to incorporate into their work, so that when people come on planes and show their either vaccination certificates or negative COVID-19 examination, there will be a viable way to see that these, that these certificates are valid and they are exactly. Yeah. And that has to do with, creating some application or international information center that
like
will be
one standard that will be for all.
That will be able to connect between the different countries and the different air flights, flight companies, and it involves questions of privacy of information and so on. So this is now under work because some of the flights already have the application, some of the companies, and Israel is really pushing hard we need to harness like an international information center between many countries in order to be able to push this forward.
So until then, the economy has to rely on domestic tourism, and we're waiting for that also to open up.
Yeah, I think that people in Israel are waiting to go out.
Yes.
And I also think it's a health thing. We need to, to catch our breath from what's happening here. We just spoke before you started broadcasting that how much we would want to go out again and feel normal again. And I think that the tourism and in the hotels and the guest house and the attractions and restaurants and the culture in Israel, this is how people can feel normal again for their soul.
Right. So talking about normal, let's talk about the city of Jerusalem. Hello to Ilanit Malkior again. In 2018, over 3 million tourists visited Jerusalem, and 2020 had seen none of them. It's really a tragedy. How does a vibrant city such as Jerusalem cope with this situation?
First of all, I want to say thank you. And when you say how does Jerusalem dealing with this situation, so I'm taking the values that Irena spoke about of IMPROVATE. I think that the one great thing about Jerusalem, city full of history, but city that has been known in the past a lot of challenges. Orit knows she lives there from terror acts, different negative perception. So it's another challenge. But this time we're not alone. This time we are with the rest of Israel and the rest of the world, what sometimes make it more even comfortable. But I want to say that when I'm looking at tourism, and all the former ministers spoke about, there was mentioning how many tourists used to come to their destination, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, 100 million. I want to say that I was in the same race. I was about counting how many tourists were coming to Jerusalem.
How many? Every year to challenge yourself.
Exactly. And now leading the city of Jerusalem from a tourism point of view, actually I'm looking, and we all have to ask ourselves and to incorporate and to adopt, I think, a little bit different philosophy, which is not about the quantity, it's about the quality. It's about the quality of the experience that we are going to provide to our tourists all the way through. The minister spoke very nicely about, the health challenges, the other challenges, but also how we are going to organize the timeline of the tourists and set it up in a way that will not be damaging. I think that the one thing that Corona told us is, hello, nature is here. Stop for a second.
Don't exploit your environment.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think that everything to do with sustainability and tourism has to be one of our next challenge. And I want to say another thing about technology, because it's kind of a buzzword that everyone are talking about. We in the city working very hard to incorporate technology into the user experience interface of our tourists. One example, we made a roundtable with all our museums, and we were challenging them and saying, okay, tourists is coming or not coming. We want to manage the time that they are into the museum, how the experience could be much more valuable, has much more impact once they go back. And suddenly there were great ideas. So Jerusalem, as the mayor said, can be heritage and history, but it can be also innovative and can be adopted.
As we've seen on the video.
Exactly, to the rest of the world. So I think that there were good things that came out of this, last year. And there's a lot of innovation in the state of Israel and the tourism industry. I just shared with the minister yesterday, they had a wonderful panel in Canada. There's a lot of thirsty into the Israeli technology, and we can incorporate that into the tourism experience and platform.
The day after.
The day after, moving forward.
So let's take a look at the day after, based on what we've heard from the two ministers, Cohen and Theo Harris. What are your plans to bring back the tourists back to Jerusalem?
We were also, as I said, very innovative. So we spoke about conferences. So there is soon going to be the Women's Day, International Day. So how are we going to celebrate that? Hopefully that you're going to join us as well, and the minister, is one-on-one. So we're doing a one-on-one meeting with the regulation that we are, of course, obliged by the Minister of Health. We're taking it very seriously. We are building what we call a different plane in different phases. Phase 1 is internal tourism. The phase 2 is the international, which we are working very hard also with the government on that. And also looking to which kind of segments will come. And I can tell there is so much hope, and people want to pray, but they want to pray physically in the city of Jerusalem. And I think the state of Israel is giving a lot of light to so many people around the world with the vaccination, and saying there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We can go out there. So we can incorporate that, working very hard to bring tourists. There's going to be an international competition. The Minister of Greece spoke about it, other president. I'm sure everyone wants a tourist. We will have to share and work together. And maybe there will be, more packages that will be including more than one destination. It's okay if we will less damage the world for that, but we can all join that and do better international cooperation in that aspect.
Thank you, Ilanit. Very interesting. Talking about technology, SOPI is the experience, technology, and assurance behind clean. SOPI was recognized as one of the top 5 disinfection and hand hygiene technologies in 2020, winner of Top 100 by Red Herring 2020, winner of the Global Impact Awards 2019, and recognized in the presence of Mr. Reuven Rivlin, the president of Israel, Maxim Monovsky, the inventor and the CEO of SOPI, and the Clean Machine is here with us today. And good morning. And before we begin, let's take a look at SOPI. Hello, Max.
Hi, good morning.
Why now and where this kind of high tech is needed?
It's a very interesting question because we thought that it's not really why now. We started back in 2018 as we recognized that, as Moshe Leon, the mayor of Jerusalem, mentioned before, you have driving cars that drive themselves. So why can't you have 21st century technologies that can support, guide, and educate you for good hand hygiene? And that's exactly what we need right now. If you look around the globe, that was one of the main statements from the health authorities that were repeating again and again without any change that you must wash your hands properly, and that properly with specific guidance. And understanding that challenge that we see pretty much everywhere where you have people with hands today, we need to have technology that can solve and help with that. So that's why. That's the why.
And where?
Where it's pretty much everywhere right now. We have systems that are installed and incorporated in schools, in office buildings, in healthcare centers, in nursing homes facilities, in Jerusalem, by the way, and in Petach Tikva as well. We have a great and beautiful project with the municipality of Rehovot in one of the biggest high schools over there. And we think that it's really needed everywhere right now. So if you think about public health and if you think about tourism, that's pretty much everywhere where you want to go.
Together.
That goes together.
So what are the actual results of the implementation? You've said Rehovot, Jerusalem. So what are the results?
The results are very great because you can see in a very straightforward information that the technology can generate, and you can see it probably on one of the screens in a couple of seconds, that there is a straight trend line of improvement of multiple 200%, 300%, 400% in all of the environments where we work. What it says is that people washing hands much better and more often. And that's
educates them.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want to have.
Good. That's good to know. What about other public health applications that you're probably responsible for?
So we see a lot of inquiries coming from general public health. We received inquiries from global companies that manage airports, from amusement parks, from museums. And we understand that if you want to get back to the new normal, you need to have a new future, a new technology. And SOPI is exactly part of it. So SOPI brings hand hygiene into the future. And the main application that we see right now is education and public health.
Mainly. Is it available in the EU?
It is. We have distributors that working right now in Italy, that working in Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg. We have beside you a great facility in the United States, and we are open to any collaboration that will come.
This is what we're doing today. President Plavnilev, I'm with you. Are you with me?
Of course.
We just heard about the tourism industry that was severely affected by the pandemic. What are the necessary steps necessary by mayors or countries that should take in order to bring the tourists back, in your opinion?
You see, when it's difficult, governments have to step in. They have to come in. And they need to be bold. And they need to bring money. They need to bring new technology. They need to help so that we move ahead. People's perception of safety seems to be crucially important. And that is why, no matter if this is airplanes, airports, or this is schools, public buildings, hotels. Solutions are needed. And because of that, I'm very proud that today we're bringing solutions so that the next steps, as you're asking me, seem to be very simple. Cooperate with the best, take the best solutions as quickly as possible, act right now so that we could make people feeling safe again and being free again. And Israel is bringing a cutting-edge technology we can learn from, we can implement in.
Thank you. We'd like to thank you, Max. Thank you very much for sharing with us your technology. Minister Cohen, thank you for being with us today.
It's a pleasure.
Good morning.
And how do you see the changes in the industry after this crisis? You just mentioned the crisis in Bulgus. And what models are you developing for the day after?
So we sharing the same values and the same challenges. Remember a time just before COVID that the city of Venice said we have too many tourists, we don't want them. And they needed to balance. And the same happened with Barcelona and others.
Mrs. Svetlina,
you have to go back. So I've established an international forum for different tourism destinations where we are sharing ideas and values, also technology, incorporating into the tourist experience, trying to see how together and what can we learn from each other, because there's a whole box of tools that we have to share. And you know, we are in competition, but it's a healthy one. And I think that one of the things that COVID showed us is that we have to share that.
Share the experience.
Between government and how do you manage crisis also in the future.
We just heard from Greece and Bulgaria. How can you run a city in the COVID area and succeed?
Exactly. And I think that, you know, Greece, they would want more tourists. We would want to have them back, but there's now with the Abraham Accords. So when someone is coming from the Emirates, should we only offer them one destination? Maybe we can incorporate into a two. From India, because it shortened their flights in 4 or 5 hours. The people are coming from Asia. I think that we learned, at least us as a city, that you can be competitors, but at the same time, you have to work together in order for the benefit for all the ecosystem of the industry. It can only contribute to one another.
To all the cities.
I want to think about, we've spoken a lot about unemployment. To see more than 250,000 unemployed in Israel from the tourism industry, it's hurting. To cross the street of the King David, that used to host the leaders from around the world,
many years and
many years,
down.
And had its branding around the world. We will go back, of course, but I think government, as it was said here before, have to step in together with the private sector and see how it's going to be a win-win situation.
And interesting, you're talking about an international cooperation, which is very interesting. Thank you. To end this panel, I would like to ask you, President Plevnilev, a question to you. What tech solutions are you looking for to be integrated in your countries and cities in order to bring tourists back? And how do you see the industry changing within the next decades?
Just look at the numbers. Speaking about the region attracts more than 100 million tourists per year. The region makes more than $100 billion per year from tourism. And now it's 70% down. So nobody could allow that to go further. Governments are ready, and they are really looking for the best possible solution as soon as possible. Actually, the region is even a good example because it's looking for the balance that's so much needed. For example, all the hotels in the region did not close. Ski resorts today are open. Even Greece, summer destinations, Bulgaria, Croatia didn't close even in summer, trying to find the proper balance. And here is a very simple recipe to all of the governments, to all of the businesses. If you want to bring back these great numbers, 70% up, from 30 to 100 million tourists as soon as possible, as it was 2 years ago, we need to increase the perception of people, the comfort level of people about being safe and enjoying again those great destinations and the great potential of Southeast Europe. And safety is a matter of technological solutions, no matter if it's airports. Israel has and global companies that know how to manage safety. no matter if it's cyber, no matter if it's hotels, UC schools, digital, and all the other solutions, green passports, vaccination passports. The European Union and Israel are bound to come as quickly as possible together, especially focusing on tourism, because the European Union has set the target of having 70% of people in the European Union vaccinated by end of June. And Israel is a world champion, is the best today. But we need the green passports, we need in our iPhones, we need the software so that we can again go freely one to each other as we are vaccinated, as we are safe. And there is a great push for cooperation right now that we can help the businesses to come together. So I will encourage all those ministers, and we heard their declarations, act, bring money, work with the private companies, bring solutions, regulate, come to a common standard, communicate with your customers and your partners. It is IMPROVATE. It's all about that. The Minister of Tourism of Israel with the Minister of Tourism in Greece and everybody in the region to make sure that people from Israel feel safe in the region and vice versa. I'm so impatient to come to Jerusalem. I can do it tomorrow and I wish to do it. So let's make it.
Ilanit is waiting for you. And this question, the same question will be referred to the Minister Theo Harris. What tech solutions are you looking to be integrated in your country in order to bring tourists back? And how do you see the industry changing within the next decades?
Yes, you're right. The industry is changing. The need of people to travel doesn't change, but I think the experience that they're seeking, the trends that we saw in the previous years will accelerate because of the pandemic. So, of course, short term, the solutions have to be around safety. They have to be around ensuring that the population feels safe when they receive the tourism, and we keep the tourists safe. So that's one aspect of it. We have installed a machine learning system in our borders in order to be able to target our testing facilities and ensuring that people are being kept safe and cases of COVID are actually separated and put in isolation. So that's, of course, one aspect. But more and more, we need to integrate all the kind of services, the seamless interaction, the things that I've heard from previous speakers in this very, very interesting conversation that you brought together. Payment schemes, touchless experiences, all those kind of things, ensuring that you can have access to the services that marinas offer, to the hotels offer, that ski resorts offer, without needing to have the physical contact experience or the need to go in a crowded place, but actually book or pay or schedule your needs. Those are the kind of systems that we feel are going to be in need of a day. That's why with the recovery funds and all the initiatives that we're taking, both on a European level and in the Greek states level, we will help fund and encourage those kind of investments.
Thank you. Ilanit, would you like to comment on that?
I think that the one great thing about this panel this morning, I think that we come with a lot of hope. I think that there is leaders here from different countries around the world, and here under the auspice of IMPROVATE, definitely I can see that there is a will to work together hand in hand to bring an industry that is contributing not only to the economy but also to the perception of and the image and the branding of so many countries. And this is why you want to make business at the end of the day, whether you build an hotel or you're making a new startup. So I think that it's a challenge that God have been given to us, and we have to work together with us and together to get out of that. And I want to thank you for this great morning.
Thank you, Ilanit. Thank you.
On most vacations, you take a trip. But in Israel, you'll take a journey you'll never forget, where you experience things so extraordinary, they change you in real and unexpected ways. From the inspired to the inspiring. the humble to the truly humbling, the transfixing to the transcendent. Here you'll find a true crossroads of the world, where people come to learn, laugh, connect, and immerse themselves in a country with thousands of years of recommendations. No matter which other destinations are on your list, what you see, touch, and feel in Israel, you'll never experience anywhere else. Begin your journey to Israel now.
Yes, just to remind you, IMPROVATE exposes and makes accessible Israeli tech innovators to governments and companies around the world to promote businesses whose goal is innovation and helping developing countries. The exposure right here at the studio and the conference is a first step, followed by delegations and real-world business connections.
Just as the vaccines are coming, the hope is coming that everything's going back to normal, but the world is changing, and as we see, the crises are giving and taking chances. Now, this crisis might be giving a chance, and we see such an amazing push for better products, better education, a better healthcare in Israel, and we're all sharing your vision, your hard work, and your innovation, and we are very impatient to see Israeli companies and products to our markets. On the other side, the crisis might be also, I'm sure Israel is gonna grab this chance and be better, progress even more fast as up to now, using the crisis opportunity. But many other countries, many other governments, many other companies might be taken a chance. If you do not reform, if you do not modernize, if you do not bring your education or your healthcare to the requirements of a modern state, if you do not show a good governance, no matter today, a good governance is needed. And that is very important for all those countries we saw that are having a great potential, but that's not enough. We need to unlock this potential. Southeast Europe is a wonderful, exciting part of Europe. It's prospering, it's moving up, it's peaceful, it's beautiful. It is a strategic partner of Israel. It is very close to Israel. It is a natural place where Israeli people, businesses, and politicians are always welcome, feel well, but we can do more. And I'm very impatient to welcome delegations from Israel in Southeast Europe. And we from Southeast Europe are very impatient to come back to Israel. It's something that is not just natural. It is a partnership that makes sense. It's full of love. It's full of positive energy, innovation, as you see it, and future. And we will build that future together. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for those warm words. And that's it from IMPROVATE's Innovation Conference. We've heard today from Eastern European government officials, local companies, and from Israel's leading innovation and tech companies about new technologies and opportunities beyond the current crisis. IMPROVATE is all about access and connections, exposing Israeli tech leaders to governments and companies around the world to promote businesses whose goal is innovation. The exposure right here at this conference is just a first step. The next step, delegations and real businesses connections. We want to thank you all for taking part and hope this is just a start of doing business together, making technology accessible to all and improving the lives of people across the world. A special thanks to the Jerusalem Development Authority and to the innovation companies who presented here: Kamada, Zebra Medical Vision, Data EdTech Labs, Sivan, Tempramed Israel, Innovitech Medical Solutions, Genix, HD Bioimaging, and SOPI.